The Snows Return to the Boneyard, audio version. Short story by George B. Preface. As a diminutive child living in the late Pleistocene, Eva had defied all norms. She was born with a deformed left leg, leaving her crippled. Her constant companion Credo was a half-blind apex predator. Neither had been expected to survive to adulthood. However, they not only survived but ascended to the highest levels of responsibility, honor and leadership. Eva remembered when she first saw Credo. He was a small kitten-sized fur ball found by her father when the clan discovered his dead mother in a cave near one of their campsites. 2 other offspring were found but were already dead. That was 5 cycles ago, and Eva pleaded with her parents to allow her to keep the young animal. Since food was then abundant, her parents and the clan leadership relented because they expected Credo would get lost, die, or would have an unexpected lethal accident before he could reach maturity. Before reaching adulthood, Eva became the uncontested leader of her clan, and Credo, an enormous saber cat, became the deadliest and most effective hunter. By tribal custom, Eva could not marry and therefore would not have offspring who could carry her deformity into future generations. She, therefore, dedicated all her energies to lead and provide for the clan, leaving behind any hope or thought of her own family or children. She rose to leadership because of her intuition and intelligence. She could anticipate danger and read subtle hunting signs no other clansman could. Her understanding of weather changes was phenomenal. The unlikely two provided early warning to danger and became the best providers of all the warriors actively hunting for the group. Additionally, Eva was an excellent marksman and deadly with her sling, which she always carried. Unlike the other warriors, she carried a bone hatchet instead of a long spear because her size and handicap made carrying a spear ineffective. Credo was her equalizer. He was her constant companion and family, as well as protector. He relied on her because he was blind in one eye. Separately they were vulnerable, but together they were more than a match, able to defeat any existing single predator. They had their own language. Eva used hand signals and he used his deep grunt-like sounds to respond. Historical notes. In the first chapter, The Boneyard, we learned the terror birds were flightless and weighed an average of 330 pounds. They were able to run up to 40 miles an hour. They were protecting at least 5 nests, with 5 or more eggs in each, which Eva had robbed to feed her starving clan last summer, initiating a war of attrition between the species. Now well fed, she along with her clan had come to finish the job. The objective was to force the extinction of a vicious competitor. The Snows Return to the Boneyard, short story by George B. The snows came and the terror bird attacks became ineffective. The birds raided the camp weekly for 3 months but lost 1 or more combatants with every assault. Eva's tribe used the failed incursions to supplement their hunting. The clan had a steady diet of terror bird along with the bison that was now available because of the early snow. Her people were better fed now than at any time in her memory, which made the loss of half her people to starvation, including her own parents, all the more tragic. In addition to the 2 badly wounded warriors who had since recovered from the previous terror bird mauling and the death of 2 children to the birds, most other things were going very well. However, as the clan leader, Eva was in a quandary of what to do as summer approached. Credo, Eva's massive saber cat, was lying next to her and was almost asleep. She was scratching the furry ear nearest to her and pondering the future. The loud purr was hypnotic. Eva was almost in a twilight and suddenly had a violent vision. It was like a lightning bolt hitting the optic nerve. The jolt was almost painful. Her body jerked violently. Growling Credo, menacingly, alerted and jumped into a defensive stance. There was a pungent odor and temporary paralysis. This had never happened before. Once Eva recovered from the shock, she tried to focus on the vision. It was difficult, but once her heart slowed and her vision cleared, a few memories emerged. An attack was in progress. She could not identify who or what was attacking. Credo was lunging at something. Screams were loudly penetrating her ears and Eva felt more fear than she could remember. Then everything vanished except her fear. She was breathing deeply and sweating even though, just before sunrise, the temperature was below freezing. It was now a few days after Eva's frightening vision. Eva decided to lead a hunting party to the Boneyard. At the end of last summer, Credo had discovered the terror bird nesting area hidden between the thermals in the Boneyard. These thermals belched steam and sulfuric gases year-round, providing heat and camouflage from any predators like a small pack of determined humans. The Boneyard got its name from the clan because the area attracted species of animals drawn by the heat during the bitter winter months. Many of the animals died there, leaving a concentration of bones as a reminder they once lived. The objective was now to return to the nesting area of the terror birds and disrupt, destroy, and eliminate any eggs or chicks that were found. The party was made up of half of the best warriors in the clan. Credo was in the lead and circled the outer perimeter of the thermals. Eva was apprehensive. The danger of engaging a group of terror birds on their turf was nuts. Eva knew this particular venture was very, very risky. However, her highly tuned intuition told her the risk was worth taking. Up to this point, the clan had lost 2 members and 2 more badly wounded by the birds. Over the last 4 months of their war, the birds had lost at least 15 with many more wounded. If the clansmen had not been highly trained hunters with sophisticated coordination, they would have been easy prey to any animal 3 times their weight and 3 times faster. No other apex predator, including a wolf pack, would have attempted what they were doing. Credo suddenly appeared like magic from behind a cloud of white mist coming from a hot pool, colored by orange, green and blue algae. His vocalization told Eva he had relocated the nesting area. Eva's heart was in her throat. She swallowed deeply and followed Credo. The warriors formed a defensive circle behind her and remained there until she returned or summoned them. As Eva approached Credo, she felt his uneasiness. His muscles were rigid and teeth more visible than usual. They both were anticipating an attack. Nevertheless, Eva led forward. Within a few minutes, the two cleared the billowing steam clouds and saw the nesting area. There were only 2 crude nests, both boasting 2 eggs. This nesting area was a far cry from last summer's discovery of at least 5 nests with 5 or more eggs each. Upon closer examination, the eggs in one nest were ruined. They had been cracked and were rotting. Was it possible the terror birds were doomed? Eva was both pleased and somehow saddened. Her most feared enemy may well cease to exist in the not-too-distant future. Then it happened. To her utter surprise, a terror bird rushed from the white mist. She barely had time to react. The screams and shriek were ear-shattering. The sound alone was disorienting. Her instinctive reaction was to jump for the ground. Her fear was so strong she could taste it. This was her vision. She knew it immediately. The bird was too close to have used the sling. She had a bone club, but it was no match for the huge axe-like beak of the bird. She rolled at the last instant to avoid the head and claws of the enormous bird. Credo lunged onto the bird's back as he moved downward to maul Eva. The cat's claws and enormous teeth severed the spine of the attacker. Both fell forward, almost crushing the tiny Eva. The bird's clawed legs thrashed in lethal spasm. Eva had just enough time to avoid being vivisected. Within a few moments it was over. Credo and Eva survived. The enormous bird now dead. Eva thought it was not her time to die, maybe later today but not just now. The rest of the hunting party arrived in time to see the last spasms in the terror bird's limbs. Eva directed the party to clean and butcher the bird, to collect the 2 good eggs and return to the camp. Credo was given a large portion of the bird as reward. He devoured it with gusto. Was this the end to the war? Did they just wipe out the last of the enemy? Somehow Eva thought not. If these demons were as intelligent as she thought, they would not be that easy to eradicate. The party left with speed and caution. Their guard was up and remained so all the way back to their camp. Within earshot of the encampment, Credo alerted. He looked at Eva and she signed him to run ahead. Within a few minutes Credo's warning was heard by all. They instinctively knew their clansmen were under attack. While she and the hunting party took the bait at the Boneyard, a major assault was being waged against their people. Before leaving that morning, Eva had ordered the elderly, young, and injured to secure themselves into the gaps in the rock pile behind their camp. Able warriors, who remained in camp to take on any threat, were instructed to retreat to the rocks if the enemy was overwhelming. When Eva and the hunting party arrived, the camp was in shambles. Some 10 terror birds were running around in an attempt to kill or destroy anything human. Eva ordered everyone in her party to remain hidden. They skirted the camp's perimeter and climbed the rock pile from the rearmost approach. Once all were at the top, Eva ordered her people to rain down a barrage of stones and spears upon the rampaging birds. Within seconds, 3 birds lay dead and 3 more were significantly wounded. The 4 unhurt birds immediately retreated and the wounded hobbled off. To Eva's relief, they had not lost a single member of the tribe. A couple were slightly injured in the hurried retreat to the gaps in the rocks. They had actually badly injured one bird that got too close to their hidden entrance. It had wandered off just before Eva and the hunting party had attacked. After checking on the clan, Eva and the hunting party left to track down the wounded birds. The opportunity to kill 3 additional birds was too tempting to ignore. Credo led the way. With great caution, Eva, Credo, and the 10 warriors moved forward. She gave strict orders for the group to remain within sight of each other at all times. They soon found the carcass of the first bird. It had a spear embedded in its left flank. They cleaned the bird and buried it in the peat moss. The party then followed the trail of the next wounded animal. Within 10 minutes they found it near death. They quickly ran it through with several spears. Now the warriors had killed half of the attacking contingent. The trail of the last wounded bird was being followed. Eva told everyone to hang back as she and Credo moved ahead as fast as she was able. Taking the lead, Eva wanted to follow the last bird to the terror bird's new nesting or roosting area. Eva didn't want the large hunting party to alert the wounded animal and prevent its return home. Credo ran ahead but cautiously remained in eye contact with his guardian. After about an hour he suddenly stopped. Ahead was a puff of mist, there were trees and dry brown and new green grass. The small patches of snow normally seen were all gone. The ground was much warmer here than elsewhere, and slow-moving streams were flowing. It was marshy and foggy. Visibility was limited and it was spooky. Eva's intuition told her to be very cautious. She then saw the body. The last wounded bird was laying half in a pool and half out. It wasn't moving. Probably dead. Suddenly 2 terror birds appeared and pushed their dead comrade under the water. They then looked around and ran directly away from where Credo and Eva were watching. They hopped through a gap in some rocks and disappeared. As if stalking a bison herd, Eva and Credo crept forward. They cautiously went through the gap the birds had negotiated earlier. Once through, the pair hid behind a rock outcrop before proceeding. What they saw before them was a large basin. At the bottom was a lake. On the shoreline were about a dozen terror birds attending nests surrounding the small lake. Eva felt this group of birds was likely the entire remaining population. She immediately signaled Credo to follow her silently and quickly. Her only thought was what to do next. Eva's hunting party was way too small to attack this sanctuary. Even with the element of surprise, it would be suicide. She returned to the waiting clansmen and described her findings. It was decided the group would return to the rock pile camp and live to fight another day. They had adequate food and safety there to get them into the summer and need not challenge the birds until a future time of their choice. This, however, was not to be. The birds had other ideas. The tribe was soon forced to take a different strategy. Within the first week of their return, the terror birds attacked again. This time neither party lost fighters. However, the birds harassed the clan every day from that day forward. They never allowed the clan to get comfortable or let their guard down. It became a war of nerves. Eva was getting uneasy as the temperament of the people was getting nasty. Bickering was continual and fights between families were intensifying. She had to do something. Eva knew the birds were flightless and were unable to climb trees. They could sometimes reach low-hanging limbs by leaping short vertical distances or by using their size and strength to knock down small saplings. Though these amazing animals were physically superior to humans, they did have limitations. Eva was about to take advantage of their lack of agility. She called a meeting and discussed a plan to use the clan's human abilities to frustrate and possibly eliminate and end the war for good. The War Council added their ideas to the mix. It was a technology the humans had acquired, fire, a technology the birds were unable to duplicate. So, armed with these weapons, the plan was hatched to go on the offensive. But not until the warriors had tested and perfected their knowledge and techniques. First, it was decided to place lookouts high in large trees between the encampment and the bird sanctuary. The lookouts were charged with observing but not attacking. Platforms were added to the strategy after the initial trees were identified. The warriors notched the trunks and climbed them in a matter of seconds. The hunters could reach heights the birds could neither jump to or in many cases even see. Their anatomy limited them to normally see from their height forward, from side to side, in reverse or down. It had been discovered looking up was difficult and disorienting to the birds. For several weeks the clan practiced tactics and gathered intelligence on their enemy. To Eva's delight, this activity ceased the internal fighting within the tribe. A common plan and effort supported by all was the solution. It was discovered by their surveillance that the birds sent out 2 marauders daily. These assailants left before dawn and returned to their sanctuary soon after sundown. It was now time for the humans to take the next step. Eva took a team of climbers and went to the swamp area near the roost and nesting basin. This was done deep at night to reduce the chance of detection. After climbing to the highest levels possible, a team of observers was left in place. It was hoped that from their height, the observers could see over the rock barrier and into the basin surrounding the small lake. They would know the next morning. At first light, all 4 observers were able to see some portion of the basin. Their reports revealed strategic intelligence. First, the birds numbered around 20 adults. There were no chicks that could be seen. It was assumed hatching was not yet in progress but would occur by late spring. This was within a few days from now. Since the birds would be expected to protect the hatchlings, an attack coinciding with this season would be perfectly timed and cause the most damage. Next, the basin was basically a box canyon. The entrance was their exit. To be blunt, warriors could block the gap with little investment, and then proceed to attack the flock from atop the canyon walls and from trees within the basin. Eva was almost uneasy at the possibilities. She had the plan and people to destroy a species. Could she do what she had been dreaming of doing? To hesitate now might allow the terror birds to move elsewhere and escape to fight another round with her clan. Eva slept badly all night. Even Credo's purring annoyed her. It was her responsibility to decide whether or not to attack, and she would have to live with her decision. If only she could communicate with these animals. As much as she hated them, Eva admired their strength, speed, and beauty. Once gone, she could not bring them back. This was a one-way decision. She woke with a pain in her neck, and was agitated and stressed beyond normal. Fear she could handle, however, this state of mind was devastating because it would not leave. No matter her decision, Eva knew she would forever second-guess herself. She either fought or left. This location was now home, and moving could mean confrontation with another tribe or species they could not defeat. Literally, a bird in the hand was better than 2 in the bush. The decision was made. Eva took all but the elderly and those too young to fight. Their number was 32 warriors and 1 saber cat. The battle plan was in Eva's mind, but she knew not to be too rigid. Refusing to change tactics in response to evolving circumstances could lead to disaster. The plan of attack needed to be flexible the minute the fighting began. The enemy seldom cooperated to destroy themselves. The attack was to begin before the 2 marauders left for the day. They planned to use fire, a technology obviously unavailable to the terror birds, to block the exit to the basin. This would be started only after all the warriors were in position on top of the canyon walls and in the trees as close to the basin floor as possible. All had torches to light once the fire was started to block the exit. New slings and spears had been manufactured. Each warrior carried twice the number normally deployed. The group climbed on top of the wall and gathered stones, rocks, and boulders to rain down on the birds. A double number of the warriors were concentrated near the entrance. Brush, dry grass, and other combustibles were stacked in the gap. Eva was on the wall near the entrance with Credo at her side. She sensed everything was as ready as possible. She ordered the fire started and the lighting of all the torches. Once everyone saw the torches, they were to yell at the top of their lungs and attack any moving thing within the basin. The flames leaped from the entrance and torches glowed all around the basin walls. There was no movement below. The terror birds were gone. To be continued.